Leila, welcome back to the Visionary Life podcast. You and I sat down almost 2 years ago for the first time to record episode number 86. And now we are almost at episode 160. So we've come, quite a long way, but I'm so thrilled to have you back on the show. And since our first conversation, I've really enjoyed actually shipping Happy Pops to my friends and to some of my family when I need a gift for them or when I'm trying to brighten somebody's day. I just find it is like one of the coolest things to be able to surprise somebody with is with one of your mixed coolers full of popsicles. So, anyways, that's just a little aside note. But welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's good to be back, and I appreciate you ordering and spreading the word.
It is literally like the most Instagrammable thing for people to receive. Like, I feel like they naturally just have to pull out their phone and they're like, oh my God, Kelsey, this is insane. I've never seen these before. And just, we talked about this on the last show, but the way that the labels or the packaging have been designed around each popsicle, it's so captivating, right? And the colors are fun and the flavors are fun. So it's kind of an added bonus that when the box ships, I'm getting some, images and photos of people sharing their excitement. So, kind of warms my heart in a way.
That's so good.
So I want to catch up where we left off. Thinking about the last 18 to 24 months, could you just let us in? What have been some of the milestones that you've hit as a company, whether they're major or minor? Just what are some of the things you've celebrated in the last 2 years?
So, I do believe in celebrating small wins and what many people may think is, not really worth celebrating or whatever. Like, I really do believe, and I think that's what's made us kind of kept the team motivated. Whether we do team lunches for different things, whether we hit new production goals or greater e-commerce volumes or launching in new retail stores. I think we celebrate all of that. So with that, it's been a bit. We got national distribution with UNFI, so that was really exciting. We launched into Metro, which was great for us. It really we're in about 100 Ontario stores and then some of their Quebec stores, and so the fact that they took a chance on us through COVID has been so great because it's allowed us to keep our team. It's allowed us to grow and it's made the product more readily available because you could say, hey, it's in Metro. It's not, okay, go on our website, find the closest store, and it's easier. People know Metro. So that's definitely helped. And
That's
and then we've grown online, I think it's been also a huge we didn't really ship much until pre-COVID and we changed the full experience and really went all in with online in March because we lost 70% of our revenue.
I was going to ask you kind of to summarize how 2020 was as a food and consumer packaged good. Like, if you had to sum up the year in terms of how it went, what do you say?
In terms of gross, like it in terms of grocery it went up and e-commerce was definitely where you needed to be in 2020. So if anybody's not online and in CPG, now's the time to really definitely get online.
Mhm.
I think that's where it's at, and it's accelerated um, e-commerce, and I think it's here to stay.
Mhm. And thankfully, you already had your whole e-commerce platform set up, right? Like, this was something that you didn't wait until COVID to set up, but it sounds like it grew as of March.
We sort of had it there, but it wasn't really set up to make it user friendly. We didn't have the volumes. We were shipping the occasional order. I wouldn't say we were an e-commerce company. I wouldn't say we put effort into it. I would just say it was there so that if people watched us on Dragon's Den or and saw and maybe went to the website, they could order some and ship it wherever across the country. But um it wasn't the easiest to order. We didn't really promote it. So it was more when COVID hit, when it was really a question of how are we going to survive now that we have no corporate and no events? And that's when we redesigned the site. And then we redesigned it a little bit again in November. to allow people to build their own fully custom box. Like you pick every single flavor in that box.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's kind of an important point to pause on is that you were doing a lot of corporate events. I believe you were doing kind of like weddings and
Yeah.
different, I don't know, like gatherings where you would supply all of the pops, right? And that was a huge pillar of your business. I always think of the photos of you outdoors, like with the cooler and handing out happy pops at major locations like museums in Toronto and things like that, where you're actually out and interacting. And that was really taken away from you in
Mhm.
2020. So, did you know immediately that e commerce was how you were going to make up that gap? Or did you run up against a lot of fear and unknown when COVID happened and when you were forced to make some decisions as to how you were going to make up that revenue?
I think I've always believed in being really transparent, and people knew small businesses were hurting. People knew we were it was going to be tough.
Yeah.
And we decided we I've never been the biggest believer in ads, although it's starting to change, but people started supporting and people started spreading the word and that helped. And then all of a sudden we were faced with like delayed shipments because as everybody else went online, all of a sudden these companies were not they didn't have the infrastructure to now be able to support that demand and the social distancing, and they were dealing with, you know, COVID in their facilities and people off and people taking leaves because now they had to homeschool their kids. So all of a sudden I woke up one morning and our product's temperature sensitive. I woke up to like 30 delays and I was like rattled. Like it's like 7 a.m. and I'm like, it just is delay, 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 delay. And I'm like, oh my God, like what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
And we persevered and there's been delays, but I think the biggest thing was just really just remaining transparent, like and telling our customers all along, like, hey, we're sorry, like this is delayed. Like there's nothing we can do. And we've had to cover some of those costs. And I mean, now things are better. We've tried different options. We've found more reliable options, found different ways of packing things to give us a little bit more um, leeway if something doesn't get there the next day, but
Mhm.
it's still perishable at the end of the day. So it's
And I love that you say like you had to decide to be transparent, and I think that's something that we can all learn to do better as business owners is to be real and be human and let people know that behind Happy Pops there is a team of people that are working hard, but some things are out of your control or out of your team's control. And instead of trying to pretend to be perfect, we have it all together. It's recognizing, hey, we are just like you. We're trying our best, but in full transparency, there might be some delays. There might be some hiccups in how your products arrive. And I think then it's a way for you to kind of show how much you care about your customers, to, make sure that they're able to get in touch with you if something doesn't go according to plan and maybe able to get a replacement. And yeah, that sucks because that's a hit to your wallets at the end of the day. But you almost have to see it as a challenge that you're willing to overcome. It's like, well, if the popsicles or the happy pops are going to arrive and they're half melted, how do we still make the experience amazing? And it's what you do after that that I think counts the most, right?
yeah, and I think we all know it's difficult to acquire a customer at the end of the no matter what. And once you've acquired that customer, regardless, like they can now spread the word. You don't know who they know. You don't know. And I think like we saw it, like one person sent to one of their employees who then sent to her son, who sent to like 30 people. Like, and that one box that one person received just ended up being, I think, like 45 or 50 books. So you want to try once you have that customer to make the experience wow. And I truly like from our handwritten notes, like we really try and we really rely on people giving us feedback, and we've learned a lot. I mean, someone received a gift and we had white boxes. You probably received, I don't know when your last order, but you probably received a white box. There was no printing on it. And we're like, someone says, I don't know what this is in a time of COVID. And I was like, you're right. So like within 2 weeks, we turned around our printed boxes because we're like, that's how we're going to elevate the experience. And it
Mm-hmm.
completely changed. Now people are like, wow, this looks really cool. I can send this as gifts. And it just, listening to your if you listen to your customers, they will tell you so much.
So true. And I love, first of all, that you did kind of like change the look of your boxes to make them more experiential, because I think that, in 2021, there are so many different options when it comes to buying frozen treats, or whether you want to go buy, nut butter or juice or soda pop, whatever it is. And it is truly down to those little touches that make a brand more memorable. And it's the whole experience. It's not just when somebody rips open a Happy Pops and like takes their first lick. It's everything from what they're seeing with their eyes to the experience of pulling them out of the box to, the way it's packaged. It all is part of the full circle experience. And like you were saying with the lady who referred it to her friend and her cousin or whatever the story was, I think having a referable brand is probably the best way to approach your marketing strategy in this day and age, because, Facebook ads have a life of their own. Email marketing, it works, but how many people want to be in their inbox all day? We were just chatting before we started recording about the Instagram algorithms. Who knows what's going on there? But when it all comes down to it, if you have a rock star product, if the experience that somebody has with your brand is totally unforgettable, they're going to tell like 20 of their friends. And how awesome is that for you as a marketing strategy that people are out there talking about Happy Pops when you're not around?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's authentic. And I think that's what's important. It's not, we've actually never paid anyone to post about Happy Pops. We've gifted product, I will admit that, but we've never paid anyone. And I believe you can tell when people respond to gifted product, like whether it's something like in their DMs, they're going to say, oh, I would totally buy this, or maybe not. And even that word of mouth and that authenticity, I think for me, it's not about having 50,000 followers. It's about having this quality community of people who, when we drop a new flavor, they're going to the website, they're going to the store because they truly love our product. And then they're so eager to like, oh my God, I just got the holiday flavors like at Christmas time. And then they're sharing these popsicles because they're so excited, even though it's Christmas and winter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's cool, because at that level, when you have like those 1,000 people who are just like obsessed when you drop a new flavor, or who are ordering on a reoccurring basis, or who are shouting Happy Pops from the rooftops, that's when you've created these brand evangelists who will support you no matter what. And that to me is like the pinnacle of marketing and branding, is when you have such a captive audience. And like you said, who cares if you have 10,000 followers on Instagram if none of them are really truly invested in what you're creating? But yet, if you had just 500 followers and they were all so keen to see those holiday flavors drop, and all 500 of them rushed to the website and then told their friends, that would be way more advantageous than having 10,000 followers who truly don't care. So I always tell people, like, it's not about the quantity of people, it's about breeding people to become obsessed with what you do, or to at least have had such a good experience that they'll tell a friend who could become obsessed.
Mhm.
So you mentioned it's difficult to acquire a customer, which I will totally agree with. It's challenging, right? I'm curious, what are some of the marketing methods or promotional mechanisms you're using right now to acquire new customers?
So we have a referral app on our Shopify store, and that's been great. We incentivize people to share it with their friends, and we reward both parties. Um, and then we started running a little bit of digital ads here and there. It's definitely helped a bit, but I think the referrals has been, and then gifting content to some micro influencers has helped bring in, again with their promo code, for
Yeah.
their followers. But I think the biggest for us has actually been straight up referrals from people who bought from us.
Mm-hmm.
And just keeping it real, even on my personal Instagram, I think a lot of my friends have bought and then spread the word. I know you've bought and, spread the word that way. So I think that's definitely helped.
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps costs manageable because you need working capital as a small business owner when you're bootstrapping. There's no venture capital money behind Happy Pop. So we got to be strategic. And what is it costing us to acquire in different ways? So if we incentivize people who truly like our product to share it and they get a discount off a future purchase, they're coming back then to redeem that discount. So now you've got their second order, which is what you want,
Mm-hmm.
because then they're coming back after second order. Now they're hooked.
I love this topic of referrals because when I really sit down to think of why I buy anything in my house, it always comes down to like a conversation I had it with a girlfriend at a coffee shop, or it may come down to, I spend probably 30 minutes a day watching Instagram stories. And if somebody's like, oh my gosh, this was the best, treat I've tried all week, then of course I'm going to be curious what they're talking about. And again, that is like a referral. And it's such an underutilized and under talked about marketing strategy because I think everyone would rather focus on like just set up your Facebook ad and forget about it. And it's like, wait, no, no, no. We got to go back to the roots of marketing, that people want to have conversations with their friends and hear, what are you loving these days? And it almost elevates our status to recommend your product. Like if I love Happy Pops, I almost want to share it with my friend because I'm like, I've found the best kept secret and you should probably find out about it too. So it makes me feel a little more credible. So I think that's one strategy that I'm sure you're quite happy you implemented.
Yeah, and around the holidays, I found like content creators posting like refer brands, and people were really great at using their platform. And we actually found people who had like verified Instagrams who were buying our product in like a metro and posting unsponsored. And the response that stuff like that gets, and it shows like that authenticity is, and working with brands, whether you're a content creator or even a brand, and finding the right fit. It's not just about the follower, it's who's going to represent your brand and who's going to be that ambassador. And sometimes when they come back, whether you've gifted them the first box and then they come back in order, you're like, okay, this is a person I want to work with long term because they really like my product.
Yeah. And it's that integrity too. It's not just somebody looking for free stuff.
Exactly. You hit, yeah.
Because I know a lot of the listeners, like they are starting their own personal brands and they would love to be working with, any of the packaged goods or the products that they have in their home. Like they aspire to one day be given product or gifted product or to have paid partnerships. I'm curious, what do you look for in choosing a micro influencer to work with or to gift product with?
I'm glad you asked. That's what I do. I look at what they post like authentically. So stuff that's not sponsored. So what kind of products are they buying? What do they look for in products? I mean, obviously if they're posting like, stuff with artificial flavors and all of that, then I'm like, okay, maybe they don't value this. Um, I look at the quality of their content, because if I want to see that they put that it's good content, but it's also authentic. Like I don't need someone to like stage this picture of them eating a popsicle. I like people who just post real stuff, like how we talk about like Instagram. Like,
Yeah.
they're eating the popsicle, the drip, like, the dog comes out. Like I look for content like that. And I try and I've been wrong several times and I've also been right. And the last few weeks I've gotten messages multiple a day for people who want to collaborate and just want free product. And you know, I don't know, it's tough to say no, and I get it. And like people will send their rate cards and everything. And I just can't afford to spend like several $100s for someone to put one post on their feed. And I just don't think it's reflective. I look for people who want that long term, like who want to do something more long term. Um,
Mhm.
Sometimes it's people who've already posted us about before because they found it in store and we want to do more together. And we are looking at paid stuff for this year for sure.
Yeah.
But we've identified who it will be with based on how they portrayed gifted product.
Mhm. Yeah, I worked in like doing consulting with influencer marketing with some companies for a while. And I would remember getting rate cards from some of these influencers, and they would send them off to my email, and it would say, 500 for an Instagram post, 300 for a series of stories. And, I'd say, okay, well, you seem legit. This looks great. Let me go to the company's Instagram account and see if you've ever talked about us or tagged us, right? Because if they had tagged us in an Instagram story, if I started a DM with them, I would see that, okay,
Mhm.
November 2020, they tagged us. September 2019, they tagged us. And I'd often go over to their accounts and like start up a conversation and realize you have never once done an unpaid shout out for us. I don't even know that you use the product. And then to have the audacity to send a rate card, it almost just feels like very inauthentic. And it's like,
Mhm.
don't think you're the right partner. So I don't know. I guess the lesson there for anyone listening is make sure you are reaching out to brands that you genuinely use. And hopefully you've given them some unpaid organic love in some sort of way before pitching them for a paid sponsorship. Do you feel that way?
Or at least follow them. I'm like shocked at the amount of people who reach out and are not even following us or even liking one post. I'm like, wait, the last, like, at least follow us for a few days, so that by the time I get to and I click on your profile, it says follow back. Like, that's the bare minimum you can do, is like click the follow button. Tip number one, like the last 9 posts if you want to like get a little bit more notice. But I don't care if you have 30,000 followers or 2,000 followers. If you're not following us, like, how is there a fit? I'm not here to just give you. I work hard. I show up to work every day with like, I'm scared and I go to work, but not to give someone free popsicles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Let that be a lesson learned. Like
Yeah,
it's
follow.
one thing to ask for a paid sponsorship. It's another to not even follow the
Yeah.
brand first. So,
And it's happened many, many times. And I'm like, delete.
oh, it just like makes you cringe, right?
Yeah. But
Um,
you get it. You're a business owner, right? You know, people need to, I mean, you only have so much capital and you only have so much marketing dollars. Free product still comes at a cost, and
mhm,
um, you got to give it to the right people.
absolutely. So, would you say there's any marketing efforts you have explored in the last 2 to 3 years that have been a total flop? So, like other end of the spectrum, you've mentioned referrals are great, working with some influencers are great. Anything that you tried that you're like, you know what, that was not the marketing effort for Happy Pups?
So I would say charitable events, but with a, like, I don't want this to be misinterpreted. I
Yeah.
fully believe in supporting causes. We gave to frontline workers, we donate a portion to SOS Children's Villages. I really truly believe in giving back. But you know, when you're a young brand and you're like, people send you, they're great. There's people who specialize in this. This is their job. They write and they're fundraising. And you got to be mindful, because it's one thing to collab. Some of these events have been really good, but you got to be mindful as to who you give and for what cost and who's attending, because if your product is not portrayed in the right angle, it doesn't often have the best value. Like, I don't find coupon codes are often redeemed as well. So if it's costing you money to print a card, don't do it,
Mhm.
because even if you're in one of these run swag bags, the redemption rate is so low, but the cost to print on like Vistaprint is still costing you like 50, $60. And sometimes you don't even make that back. So
Mhm.
it's definitely just like being very, and you live and you learn. Like, for some brands, maybe that's being, I haven't found the best return. Whereas I have no problem supporting um, medical research. I have no problem giving to causes to alleviate poverty. But I think it needs to, and I prefer to do that and know the money is going to the cause and run a business and like that. But I don't think those are good. I haven't found those to be the best marketing avenues.
Mhm. I'm sure you find you get tons of offers and pitches and people who want your time and who want free product or just presence at their event, right? And you have to come to a place where you can discern between, is this going to move my business forward, or is it going to fulfill, maybe it's a personal need that you want to contribute to the cause, or is this actually going to move me away from my goal, right? Because it's taking me away from my desk or from customer support or from product improvement. And so I know for a lot of people listening, like it is hard to say no to things, but I think if you can reframe it, and me saying no to this actually means saying yes to getting Happy Pops into more hands, then you see it in a totally different light, that you can't do all the things. Otherwise, you don't have a vision that you're chasing because you're too busy.
Exactly. Like if you're an energy bar and it's shelf stable and it can be shoved into a bag, like by all means, and it's just a question of getting people to try the product. And as a food brand, I think that should be the goal. Like, how do you get people to try your product? Because I think that's important. I think coupon codes, like it's a bit of a risk. Like, okay, and then I have to remember to take the coupon to the grocery store, take the coupon and order online. And some of these coupons have like all kinds of fine print. You got to spend like 50. And I get it. I understand. And we all have to have those fine, but it can be difficult it doesn't often have that benefit. And you can use your money in different ways, or you can donate product to other things or
Mm-hmm.
people who will actually value it.
The way I see a coupon code in a race swag bag or something is that there's too much friction between me looking at that coupon code and me actually getting my hands on the product. Like, it's like, you want me to keep this piece of paper. You want me to get to the grocery store. You want me to remember I have that in my wallet. I don't even carry a wallet anymore. Then you want me to pull it out. Like, there's just so many steps. It's like, no wonder there's like such a low redemption rate on coupons, because it's so full of friction that I'm not doing it. Whereas, what you're saying with like being able to sample the product, like that is probably the gold standard of being able to sell right on the spot. So, were you doing demos in grocery stores prior to COVID happening?
I was. A lot of times it is a requirement, but I actually see huge value in it. And where possible, I actually spent several weekends doing this myself and doing farmers markets. And I know people will say, why are you doing this? The value and the insight I got from doing it myself was like one of the best things I did.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of glad that, okay, at least I've had this little break and I don't have to do them. But I learned who our customer was. I was seeing the people who were gravitating to the product, what made them gravitate toward it. When they were looking at flavors, what were they debating? What did they want to know? So that I know, like, hey, people were showing up and they weren't too keen on maybe like, let's just say lemon mint. But then, when they tried it, they were like, oh my God, I love this flavor. So then we kind of had a sense of, and we were also seeing what age group was coming forward, or people would often say like, oh, I wouldn't like this, but maybe my grandchildren would. And it's funny because I got 2 reviews this week online that say, I love this product and so do my grandchildren. And that's ultimately what we've been gearing up for, is it's for families, but it's really cool to see that now people are seeing that. They're buying it for themselves, they're sharing it with their grandchildren. And but that, when you can be there, nobody's gonna demo like a founder.
No.
Nobody cares like a founder. Nobody knows the information and nobody can sell like you can. You know it in and out, and you like, your time is so valuable. Like that product needs to move when you're demoing. So I
Mm-hmm.
think like those days of demoing were so valuable.
So true. When you said nobody demos like a founder, I think back to my days working at trade shows and demoing various products for health food stores. I always think of like these select few booths where it would always be the founder themselves and a bunch of product. And they would just be on fire, talking to everyone, not letting a person go by that booth
Yeah.
without them trying the product. And they just carry a different energy, right? And you could tell that, like, they weren't there to just like mix and mingle with friends. Like, they were there to spread some brand awareness, to let people in on how awesome their product was, and to meet key retail partners. And yeah, it's just that energy. And you could tell they loved it too. Like, much as they probably didn't have to be there, maybe some of them did, but they were there because they wanted to keep talking with their customers. They wanted to continue learning more about like what do you all want to see from the brand? So yeah, I think that's cool. In light of not being able to demo this year, do you feel like that has been a barrier to people being able to try Happy Pops or to easily put it into their cart?
For sure, I would definitely say it's not easy. I mean, Metro gave us a shot, and I think it's going. I think people sharing. I think that definitely helps, and I would encourage people, like, if you're buying a small local, if you're looking at a small local brand, or if you buy a small local brand on the regular, tag them so that your friends know and keep it authentic. It doesn't matter whether you have 200 followers or 5,000 followers. Just by giving that local brand some love, you will make their day. But if even a couple people buy that product because they saw it on your feed, it's so valuable, because in a time like this where, we're no big brand, we're new to Metro, like, not everybody in every store knows about Happy Pops.
Yeah.
And so you never know who will go and buy and say, oh, I was actually looking for a frozen treat, or I can't have dairy, or I can't have gluten. And, I would love a pineapple coconut popsicle. And that, just by doing that, is so helpful. And I think people are doing it, but people can do more of it, especially as we look towards likely another year of no demos. So
Yeah.
there are brands who are really feeling it, because there's certain products that are tough to, and some people just don't want to take the risk and try a new product.
It's so true. And I think, in addition to being in a financial position to support small business right now, even if you can't do that, like if you're like, I don't have the extra money, I lost my job, I love that there are so many free ways that people can
Mhm.
support you by, like, walking around their local Sobeys and snapping a picture of Happy Pops if they have an attachment to the brand, or going on your website and leaving a review, or commenting on Instagram to help boost your engagement. Or a friend of mine was saying, like, please leave all the small businesses in your town TripAdvisor reviews, as well as Google reviews, and on Facebook you can leave reviews. So she said, do it with a coffee in hand when you first wake up in the morning. So I spent this morning doing that with some of my favorite local bakeries, coffee shops, the market. And I thought, you know what? Like, this is one tiny, tiny thing I can do. I don't know if it helps, but she was a small business owner asking me to do that. So I thought it's cool that even if you can't support financially, there are so many ways these days to give brand shout outs, and it costs you nothing at all. So it's pretty cool.
And like with that, I was on a call yesterday with the buyer, and they were saying, can you gather testimonials from people who want to see your product in certain places? And so that kind of information is very valuable, because when people are making decisions on what to bring in, and grocery, like, one thing comes out for something else to come in. So in
Mhm.
order for a new brand to get shelf space, freezer space, fridge space, they need to see that people actually want to buy this. So,
Yeah.
those reviews, I mean, obviously, as long as you've tried the product, leave a review, and,
Yes.
not so vague, like add 2 sentences. And, I love the pineapple coconut because it reminds me of this. And I think those kind of things really help brands, even just to grow, because they can take those testimonials and share them, and it's
Mhm.
credibility.
It's so true. And I love that you say, like, don't just write like a,
This is
flaky one liner. Like, actually think about the review. Like, if you really like the local coffee shop and it's their Americano and their vegan breakfast cookies that you love, write that in the review. Don't just be like, good experience, would go back. It's like, if you're going to take the time, at least, give a little bit of context as to what it is that you love about them. So I think that's awesome. You've mentioned your retailers a few times, so places like Metro, Sobeys. I know there's many more independent stores and smaller grocers too that stock Happy Pops right now. I'm curious for you, what is it that you're doing in your pitches or in your connections that really makes Happy Pops stand out and that makes the buyer want to put you on their shelves? Like, what do you think it is that has allowed you to get distribution in these stores?
I think it comes down to the taste of the product, and, like, the ingredients, and then the packaging, right? Because the packaging is different. The product I mean, obviously I'm biased. The product tastes good. And the ingredients are simple. I don't like to use words like clean and, dirt, but it's it's a deck of ingredients that people can understand, people can read, people can feel good about. And I think that's what people want, and that's what consumers are looking for. Easy to decipher. And the packaging, I think it doesn't cater towards kids, whereas other brands typically they either look like they're for kids, with the vibrant colors and the artificial colors and the characters on it, or they actually look a little too healthy in my opinion. And when I'm eating a treat, I just want it to be a treat. I want to feel good. I want to get off my bike and then have dinner and then eat dessert, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it should be a treat that I can enjoy. It doesn't feel like, oh my god, like, there's, it's doesn't need to be like, it should feel good. A little bit of sugar is not harmful, and I think that's what people are looking for these days. And I think that's when buyers do give us a chance to try the product, and usually
Yeah.
um,
Well, I love that because like they always say no amount of marketing or pitching can sell a bad product. And you're so right. Like probably the reason it comes down to why they say yes or no to you is because the product itself is good, right? So that's first and foremost. And
that's what I
that
believe
goes,
in.
what's that?
I said that's what I believe in, and I think the early retailers who took a chance on us with a stand-up pouch and a sticker allowed us to validate the product, and that's key. You said it. It's the product has to be good,
Yeah.
because good marketing will get the product off the shelf the first time. Good marketing won't sell the product the second time.
Oh, that's so juicy. I feel like I need to make that into a soundbite, but it's so true. It's like anyone who's listening who's like, my marketing strategy isn't working, or, my ClickFunnels account is broken because I'm not selling anything. It's like, wait. Like, first assess, is everything good with the product? Like, did you give samples of your work and you truly got results for nobody, or it tasted bad? Like, we have to start there. And then, like you said, the marketing is going to get it off the shelf the second time, the third, or the first time. And then once they try it, then, it's the taste that keeps them coming back. So I think that's just an important point to reiterate. You said on a previous show, actually our first episode, that you hated pitching. I'm wondering, have you grown a love for it a little more since we last spoke? Or does the whole process of pitching Happy Pops to new retailers, new accounts, new investors still kind of make you stressed?
No, I think I've grown to love it. I'm getting better. I still don't do a lot of Instagram stories. I know that was one of my goals, but I still am not as comfortable as you on the video aspect of it. I love seeing your daily stories. And one day I'll get there. But no, I think I'm a lot more confident in the product, and and it's those testimonials and that feedback, and I know that people actually love our product, and I think that's what gets me fired up every day. And I just want to get it into more stores, because I know that people will buy it in more stores. So I do like it. I genuinely love spreading the word, and I'm excited about it. And like when I get a meeting, it doesn't stress me out like as it used to. And I just keep it real. I don't spend hours like writing decks. I just like kind of go in like casual. This is who we are. Try the product, and then we can talk everything else. But let's start there, and because once you like the product,
Mhm.
we can talk about social media and the support we'll provide and where else we're in. But it starts with try the product first.
I love that. Yeah. Once they get a taste of a happy pop, then you're like, okay, now I can give you the
Yeah,
rest of the
now
information.
now that you're a little bit happier, let's have a conversation kind of thing. And
You obviously have goals and visions to get Happy Pops in more stores, right? I'm curious, do you have like a formal business plan or distribution plan that you're like, in 5 years, we will be here? Or are you more of just kind of a go with the flow as things pop up?
I'm a go with the flow, which is why COVID didn't like I wasn't so rattled. I
Yeah.
actually like, because I was like, oh my god, like who would have predicted? Like pretty much any business plan was like out the window. But I think I was like, I've always tried different avenues, and we had our feet in multiple different places, whether it was catering and events, and I just like to take different opportunities and see where it goes. I mean, obviously I have goals. I obviously have a list of retailers I'd like to be in. I do write down goals. I love my passion planner. So I do write like bigger goals and I try and break those down. And we did that for our e-commerce, and we had certain goals with e-commerce, and we wanted to hit, in order to get certain things, we needed to hit certain thresholds. And we did that during COVID. And I stayed like laser focused because I was just like, okay, we need to get here. If I want to sell this much per month, how much do I need to sell per day? And I broke it down, and we tried to hustle and get those targets. So it's a bit of both, I would say, but no like 5-year plan, no.
Mhm. I always ask that question just because I feel like there is such a spectrum of entrepreneurs. And I think we all think, oh, we need to have this very formalized plan and we need to be revising it and checking in on it. But I just don't think that's the way all of our brains work. Like some of us actually do much better just waking up and gaining inspiration from the day and kind of following our nudges and little clues that have been left for us. And it's not to say you don't have a plan or something strategically that you're trying to accomplish. It's just like it's not all mapped out. The journey is more like we're going to wind around a bit rather than just like beelining for this 10-year vision.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I think it's hard to have that 5 or 10 year. I mean, look, COVID was an example. Like you're gonna be thrown like curveballs along the way, and
Yeah.
better opportunities may come up here. People I've met at trade shows like a year and a half ago, like called me like last week and we're like, hey, we'd like to like order for this year. And I'm like, wait, what? So, you
What?
know, and they would never be in my plan, or like people I've met. So, people start just, they've met you, they've tried the product, they had a good experience. And that's where that good first experience matters, because they may not buy your product now, they may not buy it in 3 months, 6 months, but they may come back a year from now when other opportunity, or when there's an opportunity to do business. And like, you just have to answer and, um, factor that into whatever you can accomplish that year, and just take like all these opportunities, all revenue opportunities. So don't believe in ever turning down business, even when we wonder how we're going to fill an order. Just take it on, and it works out in the end.
Yeah, you'll always find the time for it.
You'll always find the time. Friends have been great, family have come in, we've pulled the all-nighters, but that's how you learn to scale.
Yeah. And I love that you say about that retailer that calls you like a year and a half later. I always tell my clients and students just never give up on people. Like continue to show up for them, continue to remind them that you exist because everybody's on their own timeline. Not everybody is going to interact with your brand and become a customer right away. For some people, it requires 20 touch points, 40 touch points, 60, and it needs to come up as a need for them. Like they need to want those popsicles in the store. They need to want to invest in whatever your service is. And that takes time. So you can't rush the process. But I always kind of giggle when you're like, oh, I wrote you off so long ago. And then they come out of the woodwork and they're like, hey, we'd like to stock you now. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. So is there any innovation that you are currently working on with Happy Pops, or are you laser focused on sticking to what works?
I think we're going to keep adding more. We are adding more flavors online, for the spring summer. We launched quite a bit last year with our chocolate innovation, and that's something I'm definitely very happy about. And then we launched a holiday collection last year, which was great. It will come back, this year again. Who knows? Maybe we'll add a flavor or two. Uh, we definitely just listen to, what customers want also in terms of flavors. Just for online, again, we can't turn that around in grocery. We've had about 30, 35 flavors online, and 6 in grocery. So 6 or 8 in grocery. So, we're just constantly listening, to what people want to see online, especially right now. I think it's a tough time for a lot of people, just like mentally. So if they like popsicles and it's making them, give them this experience of like vacation and trying different flavors and these experiences and all of that, we're going to just keep creating, because if that's what people want and that's what people are willing to buy, then sure, we'll bring you different flavors. And then with regards to grocery, I think now we're pretty happy with our lineup. It's pretty solid. No real major innovation there. It's now just growing into more stores and getting more people to know about us is more the goal.
I love that you talk about coming up with new flavors to kind of transport people to whether it's like a tropical place or just to a festive time, because I've been thinking about that a lot lately of how right now, of course, what I'm craving is to go away on a vacation, but I know that's not possible. So I'm willing to spend the extra dollars on fun food, items, or to like do anything I can to make every day more joyful, whether that's through a fun papaya flavored popsicle or whether that's through, I don't know, like eating out at a restaurant we've never ordered takeout from before. But I think it's important through this year, because we don't know how 2021 is going to go either, to, when you see a box of Happy Pops in the freezer section at Sobeys or at Metro, pick it up, because it's going to bring a smile to your family's face. And that's kind of what we're all gunning for at this point, is just like little micro joyful moments in our lives.
Yeah. And someone brought it up to me. They're like, "Oh, like I want to try a whole bunch of different flavors." And she's like, "Because I've never really been on vacation and I've seen these flavors and I can't afford to go somewhere." And I never thought about our flavors like that. And it was such a touching message, because I'm like, I never realized that people saw flavors as these experiences they may not be able to get. And when I think about it, travel is so much, you're constantly posting the cool food. You go to Mexico, you have passion fruits for breakfast and pina coladas, and some people just cannot experience that, but through food they get to try these different flavors that are very different from like apple or strawberry. And like, so I was quite surprised, and I was like, wow, like that's really cool. I never saw it like that. I was wondering why people wanted to try like tamarind and soursop and guava popsicles, and it's just to experience these different cultures and flavors, and really cool.
Yeah, and you're right. Like here in North America, where you and I live, like we have a pretty basic variety of fruits
Yeah.
and vegetables. Like we are so accustomed to basically getting the bananas, the apples, maybe grab a cucumber, a tomato. Like our typical grocery shop is so simple and so routine. Yet we know when we travel, like there's so much more to these flavors and so much more that we could be experiencing. So, one way to do that, grab some different flavors of Happy Pops. It's kind of fun to be able to do that. So that is really all I wanted to touch on, Leila. I really appreciate you coming back on the show. I, in my own life, have loved grabbing a box from our local Sobeys. We just moved to a very small town here in Ontario, and I was pretty joyed to see that the Sobeys carries Happy Pop. So, it definitely brought a smile to my face. And I will say my husband is probably your biggest fan. So he's always excited when I unpack our groceries and there's a box in it for him. So, we
Thank
wish you
you.
all the success. And I know 2020 was not the year any of us predicted, but it's kind of cool to get a behind the scenes look at how you guys adapted as a company and how you're staying strong as an entrepreneur. So, just to kind of close this off, I'm wondering, was there any tools or just routines that kept you sane over the last 12 months?
Yeah, I mean, I did see one friend socially distance again. Now I'm not seeing anyone, but that definitely helped, is having just like one really supportive person in my bubble that I could count on. And obviously my family, I'm living with family, so that's helped. And just being able to enjoy those moments and take time to obviously do the usual like cooking like everybody else, and learn how to, and that took my mind away. And exercise. We set up a home gym area, and that was tough for me initially, but definitely used that and enjoying that into 2021, having that space and taking time for like yoga at the end of the day, and just, really focusing on that and focusing on what I can control, and like just what like I'm used to like going away for a vacation to like disconnect, or going to the spa. And when you can't do any of that, or going to a restaurant with your friends, it's tough. But I mean, it's just find those little things like,
Mhm.
a nice workout, and just spending time with family has been
Yeah, I love it.
important.
A nice workout followed by a nice cold Happy Pops.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I love
Like
it.
what I did in 2021.
Well, we will land this plane here. Leila, thank you so much for coming on the show. All the best in
Thank
2021.
you.
And if you do get your TikTok or your podcast up and running, keep us posted. We
I
would love to
will.
support you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.